I'm intrigued by these topics, and I think that something like this, right? What I was mentioning earlier, we tend to just leave it in the wind and be like, oh yeah, like, doesn't affect me. Like, who cares? But what if that theory that I'm saying 10 years down the line, it's all transmitted?
That's what I tried to think about.
You see, huh?
That's what I tried to think about too far down the line.
Have you ever been put on the spot like this?
Nope. Not in a long time, at least.
All right, cool. Awesome.
Did you get stage fright?
Yeah, a little bit. I'm like, all right, how am I starting this?
You're like, would have been better if I didn't know what was happening, and then I just did it.
I know.
And then you get consent after.
Yeah.
You delete it or not delete it?
I think, as I was thinking about it, I'm like, how should I go about this? Should I ask consent and then just like get it at the beginning, so then I could just make the intro a little bit smoother?
And then you don't know what's happening.
Yeah, so I'm not asking like, hey, so I'm about to ask you this. How do you feel about this?
No pressure.
Seriously. All right, so I wanted to ask you, what is your thought on, well, number one, right? Like, I keep hearing about this equal pay regarding athletes. What's your thought regarding this? Have you heard of this argument, debate on...
I have. I've only really
sports?
followed the soccer version of it.
Did you play soccer?
I did.
Yeah.
I played a lot of sports. Honestly, I think it should just be based on if you're doing well, regardless of the sex. Like, if you're the team that's pulling in money and winning, I feel like I would lean that way. I don't think it should be either or. Gets paid more.
So keep it based on just if you're actually bringing in the numbers.
Yeah.
Because one of
I
the
think
arguments...
it should start equal, and then if you're starting to bring in more money for the program, I think you should get a little bit more money to keep it going.
Did you ever play sports in college?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I played basketball in college.
How was it then?
It was
Or
fine.
what is the college
D3,
system?
so it wasn't really a big deal. It wasn't a big sports school. We were
Gotcha.
techie school, so they didn't really focus on us too much there. It was more of just an extra curricular more than anything, I think.
Gotcha.
For us. Not like those big league schools where they live, eat, and breathe football.
So you mentioned, right? So it should be... You said it should be... start at the same. So you mean like college, or where should they be essentially starting the same? Because some people,
when you're
right?
officially getting paid for it.
Because I'm not too familiar with this, but aren't most athletes kind of like, depending on what they bring in, they kind of go off of the contracts that they sign, no?
That I actually don't know. You're talking in college or in professional?
In professional, if I'm not mistaken, right, you have like a lot of, at least, I remember hearing, like Brazilian players, right, that they're just so good and they're kind of pretty much brought out from like poor towns and going right to like the pros. Now the question is, if they're kind of like this one specimen that's just, natural given talent.
Yeah.
What happens there? Because you didn't go through a filter of either man or woman. They're not going through the college filter of how good are you.
I don't know. I just think if you're good, you're good. Get taken care of more. I don't know. You worked your ass off to get to that point. It shouldn't matter what sex you are. Yes. We're going back to that question.
Yeah, so... So now the question is, right, so if... All right, they start at the same, right? Let's say they start at 10K, right? It's just an example. Now what? Because now the question is, which of the sports is making and producing the
Yeah.
most money, right? Which is the difficult part. How do we gauge that? You know, I've heard some interviews where they'll ask people if some people will say, right, okay, women's sports should be equally the same. Now the argument to that is, do women watch sports enough to make the dent?
No,
You see what I mean?
I don't.
So like now then the following argument I've heard in the past has been, okay, if a lot of women don't promote and push their own sports, why as men, since they're majority usually the ones taken in sports, how should those be affected? Or why should those be affected is the question.
So those, I don't think they should be. But I'm just saying, if you're performing, like if there happens to be a female, I think soccer's really the only example I've seen it in where they're performing better than some of the men. That's different. I haven't really, personally, I haven't noticed any other sports that are doing that. And if you're not going to get the people to watch it either, then you're not bringing in the revenue
Right.
either.
Yeah, that's
So
definitely
I
one
think
of
it needs to base on that a lot.
Yeah, that's one of the arguments. The other one is, oh my goodness, did you ever hear about the UFC fighter who, I guess, this person went through the procedure and now fights, went from a man to female, but then, you know, skill-wise, let's say he's a number, or in this case, she's a number 9,
Yeah.
right, or number 8 ranked.
But now competing with men. So
With women.
with women.
Yes.
Was
and
a man.
in some of the bouts, you know, she would, decimate some of the opponents.
Yeah.
But now, unless the person was so skilled that really outperformed the strength or the, I guess, anatomy factor. Right? So what happens there,
I feel like that's tough, though, because men are naturally stronger than women, so I feel like there's a little disadvantage regardless.
Because some people, I've heard clients literally say, well, there's no difference.
There is. We all try to tell ourselves there isn't, but there's still a physical difference in our bodies. I feel like with UFC fighting, because that's the one you mentioned, I feel like you can kind of make that work because you can go by body weight and it's not just throwing somebody onto a basketball court.
So you think
they're
in
just
some of
different-
the physical sports, you think it'll be a little bit more, like more of a match, like an even match?
I feel like you could get it closer to be even. When you're talking about body weight and mass and all that, which is what they go through. Because you have to box or fight in your weight class.
What about strength, though? You think equally? Because I don't
think so. And I've seen some pretty strong women, but
could they match?
sports,
It gets tricky. It gets
they
super
all
tricky.
drop out. I think it's a very fine line. I don't know. I've always been indifferent about it. I don't care what anybody does, to each his own. But there's got to be some level of fairness going into something. And I think that puts some people already at a disadvantage going in.
Yeah. That's where to me, this is where it all starts getting tricky, is just because, like, I get it, all right? We should be able to choose what we want, but then the question is it fair?
Yeah.
Is it a fair match, right? Because in martial arts, right, I've rolled as a white belt. I've rolled with someone years ago. I don't know what her degree it truly was, but she happened to be wearing a brown belt. In this case, my theory is that she should have been able to, like, kick my ass, like, completely.
Yeah.
But there was still the factor of strength in
Yeah.
the mix. So now the question is, was she truly a purple belt, or was the strength factor outpowered her skill level? Which, now that's where it starts getting tricky. What happens there? Yeah, I'm intrigued by these topics, and I think that something like this, right, what I was mentioning earlier, we tend to just leave it in the wind and be like, oh yeah, like, doesn't affect me, like, who cares? But what if that theory that I'm saying 10 years down the line, it's all
That's
trans women?
what I tried to think about.
You see, huh?
That's what I tried to think about far down the line.
No, not the opposite. I'm like, what happens if this is the case? Would there be a future where it's only...
I feel like you can't control all that stuff now, though.
No,
I
I absolutely think so. I think ignoring it is what could bring to a future where there's no longer... what's the actual term for this?
What?
Huh?
Term for what?
The proper term for this, right? Like born females, right? If they're taken out of the equation because now, okay.
You think there's going to be that many, though? That transition over?
Listen, have you heard, so there's been like the case, right? That inmate that said, okay, he identified as a female and he went to a female prison. He impregnated like 4 or 5 inmates.
That's a problem.
So the question is, right? How do you decipher the people that want attention? Because unfortunately, there is the attention aspect of it, right?
Yeah.
At least modern day. Like right now, if you open up about certain ideologies, you're gonna get more attention, right?
Yep.
So now, what happens there for, let's say I want to be an athlete within the male spectrum. I don't even qualify or classify as top 10. But if I change, I may be able to qualify.
It's top 10.
You know what I mean? So it's like, how can we control something?
So you're saying, are they doing it just to be able to get that?
Oh, I think as humans, we do have those dark tendencies that we cannot, like, how are we going to gauge that? How can we control who's apt and who's truly in for the cause and who's not? That's where I'm like, there's a fine line, because we're weird as humans. And what motivates some of us may be very different to others, right?
Yeah.
So.
I never thought about it like that.
Oh, goodness, yeah. Like
just doing it to get an edge.
Oh. Think of this, right? How many people, to what degrees would they go to become famous?
Some people a lot.
Exactly. So that's kind of like my thought behind this. Like maybe my thoughts usually tend to run on the skeptical. Like, what if? Very it's almost like I drive in the negativity. And it's like, maybe that's why I think always the negative aspect of humans. I don't know if that's necessarily a good thing. Probably not. but I've also lived. Huh?
You're thinking about it at least. See, I am the opposite. Sometimes I do want to turn a blind eye to all the negativity.
Oh, goodness. Yeah. The question is, have you ever gotten caught by surprise by something that you could have prevented differently? If you would have just looked different, closer, paid more attention to a situation.
Not something serious enough, but small things.
You think of relationships, right? Even, going into that realm, when you think red flags, maybe, but it's not so bad today, right? So I could tolerate this. A couple years down the line, it's no longer a red flag. It's like you're in the dirt.
Yep.
Right? So it's like those little things. Now I'm just like, I started, let's say, a relationship, very pessimistic. I don't have big expectations for people. And I little by little start trusting and
you build it up.
Yes, I build it. I build the trust and see like what they're about and are their intentions true. What they say is it actually aligning with their belief system or at least what they're preaching. Yeah, so oh goodness, life is complex.
That doesn't make you tired going into situations like that?
Yes.
Kind of expecting the worst?
Yes, and I don't know if it's necessary. I don't think it's probably a healthy thing. But you know what though? I do hate the feeling of being misguided by my naiveness.
Yeah.
I think being played, in a sense, right? It's kind of like, I don't know. To me, is one of the worst feelings that I've had. When someone breaks your trust, and right, it's how do you regain that trust after someone has like in a sense played you, right?
I don't know if you ever really can.
Exactly. So it's easier. There's a line from DMX, the rapper. He happened to say, "Trust a snake to bite you. Trust a rat to be a rat.
Yeah.
Trust an animal to be an animal in essence, right?" And I think that as time goes by, I kind of pay attention to that gem, and I think there's a lot of truth to it. Sometimes we want to make people look and seem that they're nicer than what they really are because of
Sounds better.
our investment.
Yeah.
You know, you invest into a relationship or into someone, and you want to always think the nice parts of them, right? Oh, this is what they used to be. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Makes it easier to sleep at night, right?
100%. Then I look at the phases that I've gone through in life, and I've cut out a shit ton of people out of my life. Good people, some not so good, but at the end of the day, it's kind of like I take it as it comes. Maybe I was wrong, but if I'm right, I actually did save myself a lot of pain.
Yeah. I've done the same.
Right? So
a lot of bad people out of my life. Used to tiptoe around it a lot and just keep them around to not hurt somebody, and then I finally hit the point where I'm like, why am I doing this to myself?
100%.
If you're not that good of a person, you know. When you get to the point that you realize they don't deserve you. That took a long time.
What about those situations where you feel that you were used just for what you could provide? Stability, friendship, whatever it may be that they need out of you in the moment.
Sucks now.
No.
In the time, honestly, right towards the end of things, I felt spiteful, which is not a good feeling.
You felt used?
Used? Then I turned spiteful. Like, just bad energy.
100%, yeah.
And like, just not thinking about how to get back at people, but like, almost having thoughts of how to give you a taste of your own medicine. I'm like, that's just not the right path.
Agreed.
So it's easy to remove that toxic person from your life.
100%, I agree with you. I think a lot of times, a lot of times we can also fall into those traps of also becoming that person you don't want to be.
Yes. That's my fear. And you see it start happening when you're with certain people.
You start thinking like they
Yeah.
like
You start acting like they do, falling into that trap, and then you start becoming a not so good person.
100%, yeah. How do you avoid that? How do you self-check? Self-check to know, like, okay, this isn't the direction I want to take.
It's taken a while. I've been meditating a lot lately. That, like, just sitting with myself, and just what I'll do is I'll go over how I felt or how I was feeling in those negative places and be like, I do not want to go back. So it's mostly just processing it and remembering how I felt.
So meditating.
Meditating. I do Reiki. Like, it's all this stuff just to kind of check in with myself. That's what I mostly do. Like, I don't like the person that I've been a few times, so I don't want to be that person again.
100%.
Like,
No, that's
blow
awesome.
up fights with somebody. It's like screaming. I'm like, I don't scream. That's not me. But it's happened. So just try to do everything to avoid it happening again. But like we were talking about earlier, it's the triggers. Certain people know what to do.
They know how to affect you.
So it just takes a little bit more strength to not react as well. Definitely a lot of sitting with the thoughts.
Yeah. So in the sense, right, you do a lot of self-reflection and analyzing.
Oh, yeah.
I guess it's just where we spend that energy. I'm in the future a lot of times.
I'm right here.
Yeah. You're in the now.
I'm in the now. As much as possible. Control the controllables is what I tell myself.
Yeah, it's a beautiful thing when you're able to I guess just be in tune with what's affecting you and what you need to change in your life.
Yeah. It's not good feeling like shit all the time, so changed it. I used to be really negative, and I'd second guess everything all the time. I would think the worst before it would actually happen. And sometimes it wouldn't, but
Think the worst before it happened.
you ever like before you go into a situation, you're already playing out the 5 different ways it can go before you get there?
No, 100%. Yeah.
I just stopped doing that. Because I would always like think the worst thing and be like, how do I react if this happens? How am I going to react if this happens? Kind of thing. I was spending a lot of energy doing that.
Would you get out of it though? I'm sure it had
I think now I'm being able to process that over and over again. Now I can just sit with it outside of it instead of being crazy before everything happens. I think I've learned to, I don't want to say manage, but I guess lower my expectations a little bit and learn more about my behavior and how I react to things.
self-control.
Yeah.
That's a powerful thing.
Yeah.
To actually learn how to control your emotions, anger, frustration. Like we all get frustrated, but the way you lash out or you react to certain things, it's key. And it's like what I was telling you earlier, right? Like when you think about it from the angle of you're giving someone the power to affect you. That's key, right? Like shit, sometimes I think we, like some conversations, right, regarding, how people will, how someone will kill someone else, right? And in my opinion, right, it's like that lack of self-control. It's just pure emotion. There's no nothing. I'm just angry.
Yeah.
I know it can go pretty sour pretty fast.
It doesn't take much for someone to snap these days.
I'm so excited about this. Like the back is.
Yeah.
I really like the fact that we blended the styles.
That was all you.
Yeah, I think it's gonna look awesome.
Hell yeah.
All right, let me actually get some dark pigment now.
Okay. Onto the fun part.
What got you into meditation? What started that whole thing?
Sick of being angry all the time,
Yeah?
to be honest. Yeah.
How'd you hear about it?
Well, when I started doing Reiki, that I don't even know how I heard about it, because I didn't know anybody that was actually doing it. I think I just Googled it and I was like, I'm just gonna try
it?
this.
Yeah.
And I tested it once with her and I was like, oh, let's do this again. I felt like this was working. I just started sticking to it. And then recently, a lot of people in my life and who I'm seeing now, they've mentioned that would be good for me. And I started meditating, and then that started helping. So
Awesome.
it just kind of like, I noticed it just regrounds me a little bit, even if it's for like 5 minutes, just to take a break. And I think it gives, like, it's another thing to do as well. So I don't want, not a distraction, but something else positive to bring in.
Yeah, Reiki, I got to hear about Reiki a couple of years ago, but it was definitely, and it's not like a popular thing for everybody.
No.
So it's not something that you hear about on a regular.
No, if you find the right person, though.
Life-changing?
I think it can be, yep. It's helped me a ton. Definitely just reined in. It's all, I mean, also growing up is maturing too. It helps. Obviously you see more, you learn more. But yeah, I think that's helped a lot.
Yeah.
It was really just the anger.
It really brought it down?
Oh yeah. Anxiety, depression, like I used to have, like I was very high strung. Definitely still have a little bit of me, but nothing compared to what it was. Definitely a much calmer, better version of myself now.
How so? What brought it together? Like how noticeable is this? Like how long did it start taking before you're like, huh? Like you actually felt
A few years.
It. Yeah.
It's happened over time. Like I've noticed a bigger difference removing toxic people from my life. Like I was doing all these things, and then when I removed this certain situations, it got even better. And I was like, huh. So I kind of start learning what I need in life, I guess, to make me happy.
Your priorities.
Yeah. So it's taken trial and error. I mean, there's been years that I've put up with certain shit just because I didn't know any better and I felt guilty and I never want to disappoint people. So that always took precedence over my happiness. So when I started making these subtle changes, I was like, oh, I feel better. And like every time I did something like that, it got even better.
Awesome.
Gradually. So I was like, we're going to keep doing this. And it's been good. It's hard to explain. It was really just putting in all the small effort, but it was not a switch overnight by any means.
So just essentially, just stick with it for a little while, create a new habit.
Yeah.
And then
basically consistency.
And then just you'll start noticing the difference. Because that's an interesting one, right? Because so many people go through, number one, like anger. But then right now, how many people are going through like depression as well?
Yeah.
And not knowing how to look for different outlets on how to change something, right?
I used to be on like an anxiety and depression medication. I was like, this is not something that was another decision. I did not want to be on medication for the rest of my life. One, I don't like taking medication because I don't like my body being altered by something like that.
Right. Did you feel like a huge difference with it?
Not really.
You
Maybe
still
ton
had
of weight, but
Oh, you gained weight?
oh, a ton. When I was this was like thinking like high school, college.
Huh.
And I was like, so then after that, I was like, I would like to do this a different way, you know.
But still same feelings. Nothing like really changed from the medication.
Not really. I didn't notice that big of a difference.
Oh goodness.
Because I don't remember feeling that much better on them.
Huh.
But reversal, mood swings, all that fun.
Do you think, and this is a random ass thought, but you know how like sometimes we have this anxiety of performance,
Yeah.
right? Like, am I achieving enough in life? Am I getting enough things? Is this something that you personally have as well?
Like, am I getting enough out of what I'm doing? For
In a
me,
way, yeah.
yeah.
Because I feel
I
that
still
shit
feel
all
that.
the time. I'm like, it's never enough. Like, in the sense of, I don't want to feel like I'm wasting time.
Yeah. I get like that when you go in the same pattern over and over again. Every day you wake up, do the same thing, go to work, do that. Like, that's, if that happens too many days in a row and I can't change gears, that's when I start feeling it. I'm like, what am I doing? What's the plan here? But I try to just change. I mean, even just little things like working from home one day instead of going to the office. That makes a bigger difference than you'd actually think. At least with what I'm doing. Just that change of scenery. So it's more like paying attention and noticing all those small things that make a difference.
So is it the job or is it the environment?
Everything. I
Yeah,
just get
a little
bored
bit of that.
sometimes when it's the same thing.
Fair.
You just want to change it up a little bit. It's sometimes the people, it's not like the most, they're all nice. But sometimes just, I don't know. I don't even know how to explain it. It's, the culture's changed a little bit where I am now, so it's just people don't, I guess we don't do as much together outside of, not outside of work, but like mingling to break up the work day.
Like the social aspect of
Yeah.
work? Yeah.
A little bit. It's changed a little bit, which so it makes it more meh when you go in.
It's just straight business.
Yeah. And it's nice to have that break from it sometimes during the day.
You think that happened after COVID?
I think a little bit, only because we were allowed to work from home through COVID, and some people got a little bit too comfortable, and they want to work in their PJs, so like they come in now, and now they don't even want to be there either. But
they show up to work on their PJs?
Oh no! During COVID they were allowed to work, so like now they gotta get dressed, come back into the office, and there's been a little change since then. It's almost like people got a taste of being able to do their job from home.
Right.
So I think it's just the environment's changed a little bit since coming back. Because I think everybody's mindset was like, why can't I do this from home?
Yeah. Why do I have to come in?
Right.
Ooh, but the social aspect
right.
of things
Then you have the other
is
side.
so key.
Some people don't want that though.
Oh, goodness.
I like both. A little time to be productive. Then social. But yeah, I think just being able to change things up is key. Going through the motions is, it starts to
Build up.
Where you just kind of feel like you're on a hamster wheel.
It's been many years since I've been on that field.
Yeah.
Yeah. I used to work, I worked at a hotel years ago. But, yeah, it's been 14 years me doing this, so I do feel like every day is a different day. Every client is different. It brings a different thing. But, yeah, I don't know what that feels like anymore.
That's good.
Yeah. But in a weird way, it's a constant, never-ending, spinning the wheel.
Yeah.
Just work, and see where it goes. The thing is that I have too many hobbies, and I don't know.
You get distracted by them.
Yes. And that's the thing, that like when I'm working on one hobby, I may get tired of it, and 3 weeks later, I'm like, all right, let me focus on the other one.
Yeah.
But I tend to have the personality that I get tired of a toy, I drop it, but I make sure that I come back around within that year. So it's not like I'll put it on hold, but I don't forget about it. So every time I'm optimizing the hobby, you know? What hobbies do you have?
I don't know. The gym has kind of taken over a little bit, which has been awesome. Golf.
Yeah? Golf has been exploding, huh?
Been playing for a little while.
Is it fun?
It is fun.
Yeah.
It's frustrating, but yeah, it's fun. I don't know. I'd rather just hang out with people most of the time. I feel like that's where I get my high.
With people?
Yeah. Like hanging out with friends and just no expectations, just doing whatever. But yeah, hobby-wise, I don't really think I have anything specific. I don't think I've ever really had a hobby. Played sports, but
Would you consider those hobbies or just...
I think now I would.
Yeah.
Growing up, I wouldn't have, but
I guess golf is, right? If you
yeah, I'd say it's a hobby now.
Semi-regular.
Not on a team, so I do it for pleasure.
I think having hobbies is essential in life. I think because that's like the one thing that I keep noticing, like with friends that do have like depression and shit like that. I'm like, I look at their life at least from the outside, and I'm like, I just see you on a constant routine.
Yeah.
And never snapping out of it.
I think that's what I need my goal to be next year.
Your what?
I think I need that to be a goal next year for me. Pick one thing. Or
And
pick a
stick
couple
with
things
it.
and just try it out and see. That's actually not a bad idea.
No, just sticking with something I think is
Yeah.
key. Stick with something, but do it long enough.
Yeah.
I got some goals for next year. I want to like make sure I've been like really brainstorming my schedule and how I want to get it done. So finally I can actually stick to martial arts in a very consistent basis.
How often do you go now?
Oh my god. I've taken, it's pretty much a 4-week hiatus now. So it's been 4 weeks, but that's one of those things that I have in the back of my mind. Like, like fuck, I can't believe I dropped it for this long. But at the same time, I'm focusing now on my energy and getting this thing like going.
Yeah.
Right? It's kind of like between work, sketching, and now like, all right, let's get this enough the media content aspect. You got me intrigued with the lady with the what's it called?
Reiki?
With the Reiki, yeah.
I'd give it a couple tries. I think you gotta find the right person though too. Because I've done it with a different person before I found this one, and I was like, nope, not for me. And I got her name and then tried her, and that's the one. So I think you gotta find the person that you jive with too.
So the one lady I did go to see for one of the sessions, right? She wasn't a lady, she was probably like around my age, but what was interesting is that once I was at a bar and I saw her there, and for whatever reason, that did not click to me.
Threw it off.
Yes, I was like, what are you doing here drinking with your friends? I'm like, this isn't so spiritual.
This is what I was imagining.
I'm like, oh, you're here just like opening my chakras, like, and you're like, and then I just went into this weird deep end of like, what if this person, all right, so I have this really weird theory, right? What if, all right, so like people doing a lot of energy work, right? What if they're going through their own self-exploration as we all are?
Yeah.
But what if they're in a negative headspace, but they're also opening energetic portals?
I have not had that happen.
Right? So it kind of...
A little nervous about that.
Yeah, so it kind of went in there. Like my thoughts were into, what can fucking go wrong with this? right?
That's why I think you gotta find the right person. So like the one that I see, she knows how to clear everything out and not be affected.
Yeah.
I guess.
Yeah,
But it took years of training.
Uh-huh. Yeah, that was a little
Like-
concerning to me. I'm like, oof, this is a little scary because you never know, right?
Putting a demon inside you.
Well, I don't know what someone's going through, right?
Yeah.
Like, imagine they're going through like a divorce, something
Yeah.
like, whatever it may be, and you're tampering and you're tweaking my energy
Yeah.
fields.
Hopefully
How
they're
does
strong enough
that-
to be able to separate
Yes. So how would that affect? I'll tell you this story, right? So, as sometimes when I'm tattooing, right, I go into these like random, just lost in my own thoughts, completely zoned out in the trance, and I was going through just like this really, I was concerned, angry, all kinds of feelings. But I realized that I was tattooing this person with the same emotions I was feeling. The way I was like stroking the machine, I was going, it was almost like each stroke was with anger. Right? Have you ever heard that like painters, you could tell like their emotions with how they paint on the canvas?
Like I've never heard of that. But
Yeah, so like if you see big strokes,
yeah.
right, you just have to like visualize how they're stroking the canvas.
I never
It's
thought about that.
Yeah, so a lot of times people would paint. I actually get inspired to paint when I'm going through like my dark phases. Like if I'm going through like whatever it may be, right? But it's usually, darker shit. And then that's when I'm like creatively going like, all right, I want to actually paint. I want to like stay up until 5 a.m. for like 3 months and paint.
Does it help? Do you find that it
Yeah,
helps you?
yeah, 100%. But then that also comes with a whole different thing, right? Of I want to paint, I want to listen to music, zone out, and it's almost like I'm seeking to hide away from people.
Oh.
I want to just be in my own world. I want to have my rum, my whiskey, and just zone the fuck out and just paint whatever's going through, like emotionally what I'm going through. Yeah, how we get here? I kind of lost it. All right. Between the tattoo, painting.
Painting.
Yeah,
Aggressive painting strokes.
Yeah, and tattooing. Oh my goodness, yeah, I remember that day. I was literally tattooing this guy, and I'm just like literally hammering the pigment like that. And then I had to stop and think to myself, like, okay, what am I doing here?
Yeah.
Like, I shouldn't be tattooing someone in this mental state.
Yeah, that's fair.
Right? And now, if you want to go into, like, the spiritual aspect of things, the transfer of energy. What am I transferring to this person? And this person has nothing to do with whatever I'm going through in my personal life.
Yeah.
Now, the crazy part.
You do think about a lot of shit.
Oh, yeah.
Holy cow.
No, I go in the deep end.
Now you're going to make me start thinking about all this.
No, I don't think it's a bad thing, honestly. I'm just like, shit. I've seen people, I even think of like the phases of my life where I've tattooed certain subject matters that has been, let's say, on the darker aspect of things, right? If I wanted like tattoo whatever, horror movies and shit like that, that was through a lot of that dark phase. And I'm just tattooing shit that represented how I was feeling. So now imagine between the subject matter that I choose and the way I'm actually tattooing the person. I don't know, crazy thoughts. Yeah, you know how many things I go through
You
my
process
mind.
them in your head.
I'm like pulling off a line.
I feel like I'm only getting half of it too.
Yeah. I'm just like, here goes this nice straight line. Also these random ass thoughts.
But don't fuck up the lines.
No, I can't. That's the beauty about this these styles of work, right? Is that, and to know that I hated doing line work. When I
Really?
started, I hated doing line work. That was like my my biggest weakness. So I went through these phases of just pushing myself to do something, whatever my weakness was at the moment, I did for a year.
I like that.
Yeah, so like in a weird way, and oddly enough, the only style that I've never done is traditional, American traditional. But beyond that, my weakness was lines, and I was like, you know what, I'm gonna focus 100% on lines, and literally everything from that point on was just line work.
That's actually a cool idea though. To do it that way.
I think it makes all your angles a little bit sharper,
Yeah.
right? I could do color, I could do black and gray, I could do a bunch of different styles, probably because of that.
You don't do a ton of color though, do you?
I like color.
Yeah.
I think it just takes me too long. That's one of the downfalls for me with color. It just takes me long to get there to where I like it.
Yeah.
And I don't like stuff being too colorful either. Like I like picking, a couple colors and just like two, 3 colors and let's go with it. Goodness. Yeah, a couple of years ago. I think once I looked at, imagine this, I was getting ready to go to the beach, and as I passed in front of the mirror, I happened to look at myself, and I had these like swim trunks, and they were kind of like a turquoise with, like a fade of turquoise, gray, black. But somehow I froze up, and I stared at myself in the mirror, and I'm like, I look like a fucking clown. When I looked at all my tattoos, how colorful they were, like color on the legs, color on the stomach, color on the shorts, color on the arms. I'm like, what the fuck is this?
I just took that one time.
Yes, and I had to go back and change. I'm like, I gotta wear like black because I got too much color. I did not like that look. I'm like, okay, how are these tattoos now aging? And it made me rethink the way I want my tattoos to look.
Yeah.
I want them to be classy.
Yeah.
I want them to be timeless, right? And then how do people age with it, right? You may like certain colors when you're a certain age, but what if you start hating those colors later on in life, especially when you see them every day?
That's fair.
Could they be? And that's when I started focusing on just like 2 tones. Let's keep it simple. Let's not make this look like a Christmas tree.
That's so funny.
Yeah, it's interesting the way things just kind of fall into place. How you feeling?
Good. In general, or?
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah, good. This is like my favorite day. I had the gym this morning, tattoo, and then Reiki. Can't really ask for a better day.
Yeah. Not too bad. There's something about those days when you feel accomplished. Oh, it's such an awesome feeling.
These are just all my fun things. That's why. Well, we're gonna color the eyes in. What are your thoughts
color?
on that?
Let's do it. What did you say last time?
What's your thought on doing both the eyes or just one on the real one?
I say the real one.
Yeah, and just only one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was just thinking about that I was going through everything over the past 3 weeks. Is that when I last saw you? 4 weeks? I saw my mom for Thanksgiving. She hates tattoos.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm her favorite right now.
Let me have you. Oh, you're. All right, let me have you readjust.
Yeah.
There you go.
And I showed her this because I get all excited about them, and she does not. And then she's like, "You're gonna finish the other side, right?" And I was like, "Nope, that's done." And she's like, "Oh." I'm like, "That's what I wanted it to look like." She's funny.
How old is she?
53. Yeah,
She had you young, right?
16.
Jeez.
Yeah. That's why we're like pals now.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Once I hit drinking age.
She's 53. That's super
Yeah.
young.
Yeah, she's just a baby.
Seriously. You say you guys get along?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
I think we've only had one major fight in our life since I've been an adult, put it that way. Other than that, we've been fine. No big issues. I think we'd kill each other if we had to stay in the same place for a week or so, but we already know that about each other.
Keep it at a distance?
Yeah. We're too similar in sometimes, so we would definitely get on each other's nerves a little bit.
Would you say you're hard-headed?
Me?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I'd say that. A little stubborn. Where'd you grow up?
Where did I grow up? At what age?
I'm going to start from the beginning.
Oh my goodness. I've lived in too many places, in my opinion.
All right, pick your favorite one. How
All
about
right.
that one?
Favorite one, New York. New York and Florida.
Really?
Yes. Different ages.
Those are your two picks? Like downtown New York or
I was in
outside?
Queens.
Yep.
Queens, and that was fucking crazy.
What age?
Middle school around 7th grade.
Oh,
6th, 7th grade. Yeah, that was, I went to, this school was a shit show. Probably one of the best memories I have. We had food fights.
That was your favorite memory?
Yes. Food fights 3 times a week on a minimum.
Awesome.
Yes, but they were like epic fights. Like, you remember like Matilda?
Yes.
The
Yep.
kids movie? Alright, so it was literally one of those side to side. Everybody just
So
throwing
funny.
like from mashed potatoes to fucking the carton milk. Crazy. It was epic. Got suspended for throwing the milk though.
Yeah.
But it was, oh my goodness, it was just a riot. I barely spoke English back then though, so not so good on that department. Got bullied quite a bit around that time of my life.
Really?
Mm.
I mean, I guess what year would that be? I mean, kids were nicer back then than they are now.
You thought they were nicer?
I also grew up in Maine, so
No.
it wasn't like there was much
No.
diversity up there.
Back then, it was, this was, oh my goodness, like 80% of the classroom was black. I think 3 Spanish kids, 1 Indian kid, and 1 Italian guy. And that was it. That's it. So it was definitely very split, but no, it was a fucking shit show. It was awesome though. Florida was cool for other pieces, right? Oh goodness, I skipped school in Florida a little too much.
That's so nice out.
Yeah, we had access. Like majority of everyone in school had someone who worked at the parks. So we all skipped school and would go to the parks on a regular basis.
Nice.
So, collectively it would be like, hey, just get your tickets for next week. And like 15 of us would skip at one like single time and just go to the parks. And it was different. I don't know. It was wild. You had that was around 9th grade. So that was a good time. That was a good time.
Old enough to get into trouble.
Yeah, I did some really stupid things out there.
Where in Florida were you?
I lived in Tampa and then in Orlando.
Nice.
I wasn't too big into Tampa. Tampa was alright. That was another weird one because I went into like pretty much an old white school. And that was like a cultural shock from New York. But that was around my skateboarding phase. So So regarding that was pretty good.
Yeah.
Because there was a lot of kids I could skateboard with. Oh, but imagine,
Yeah.
I'm barely speaking English. I look, I went
Just
there.
jump right in. You can learn how to skate though.
Yeah, no. In New York, it was just like a little too street. Some good stories though. Yeah, no, Tampa was alright. I was awkward at that age. I remember the one kid that happened to be my only friend, right? I'm fucking brand new in this school, finally talking to someone. And this kid, I don't know what the fuck I was thinking, but I happened to he went to sit down and I pulled his chair. And I was dying
So funny.
laughing.
I did that to somebody too.
Dying laughing, and this kid just looked at me like, why would you do that? The moment of shock, like, damn, he could have gotten hurt.
Yeah.
But then realizing I also lost the only friend I had.
Nice.
I'm like, I fucked up. The rest of the year was pretty awkward. I'm like,
All because of a chair pull.
yes. But that's the thing that, geez, I feel like growing up, because I also lived in Colombia, and the type of jokes that people pull there, definitely different.
Yeah.
It's very over the top, very mean and in your face.
Is that normal over there?
Oh, 100%. I talk about it like, so growing up in South America, for the most part, I'm assuming the rest of the countries are the same. But you get a nickname, usually from your family, based on your fucked up attributes. So whatever you have wrong with you, they're going to let you know, and that's your family nickname. You got fucked up teeth.
Oh my god, I would have cried every day.
Yeah, you got fucked up teeth, you got a fucked up eyebrow, whatever it is, that's what you're going to hear for the rest of your life. So, and now that's just within the family. Now the second you go into to the park to play around, you also get a nickname from your friends. If the one from the house doesn't stick, they'll give you a new nickname, which is still based on the same thing, right? So
Same bad attributes.
yes. So you get to grow up kind of building a thick skin regarding bullying and the way people talk shit, right? Is just part of the culture.
Yeah, I didn't grow up with any excitement.
What are some of the craziest things you got to do as a kid?
Nothing.
No?
That's what I'm saying.
Super, like, at home kind of?
Yeah, just nothing crazy. I got into zero trouble, did zero crazy shit.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah.
No, I definitely did too much crazy shit. I used to go into, like, private buildings. Private buildings, and like me and my cousins would like dare each other, like who could jump from like the highest building down to the ground to like a little pile of like sand, talking like 2 to 3 feet of sand. And now at one point highest one I ever did was like the 3rd floor, but we would do just silly.
Break a leg?
Yes, we were just doing silly shit. It's like, oh, let's go into this person's property and just steal mangoes. Getting chased by the dogs, trying to ride fucking people's bulls. Like
You did all kinds of shit then.
Yes, yeah, I got to do a lot of fuckery. That's the other. That's something I question, right? Because I look at my kids and it makes me wonder, like, are they gonna have stories like this? You know, they're so like, in a way, sheltered to having some sort of independence that I'm like, I want them to have stories. Right? Obviously, be aware and be careful with what you do and who you are talking to when messing. So I do try to give them a lot of kind of like, I guess like street knowledge on what to be aware of.
Yeah.
Right? But, you know, I look at just, and I ask clients, like, how do they go about telling their kids about things, shit, like, those iffy topics that no one wants to talk about. And I realize that in some things, my kids are, in a way, a little bit more advanced. Jeez. Because I think of that, right? Like, how come I was allowed, like, now, see if you experience that, but, like, I remember growing up, and it was normal to just go outside, and the rule was, like, come back by sunset.
Yeah.
Right? Riding my bike, like, literally 5-10 miles from the house. And just coming back home. Now, the question is, how come we don't let kids do that no more? And it's all usually based on fear of the world is meaner out there. But my question is it really meaner?
I think it's more publicized now.
Right.
So everybody's getting ideas.
So now we go into raising kids, and I don't think a lot of people question is, what are we raising? Super sheltered? That at some point they're going to have to go into society and realize the world is crazy out there.
Yeah, it just is.
I'm probably going to blame it that you grew up with a lot of old people. Or at least older, right?
That I didn't do anything?
Yeah.
Or that I didn't get into trouble?
Yeah. Sort of like you want to
Expectations to behave.
Yeah, you want to play bingo? You're like, sure.
Yes, hell yeah, I love bingo. That seems safe.
Dominoes?
With the old ladies.
Yeah.
It's funny you say because I actually did play bingo.
Oh, goodness. Of course you did. What kind
You've
of
never
stuff,
played bingo?
What town in Maine did you grow up in?
Poland.
Poland. How far is that from, like, what are we looking at?
Do you know where Portland is?
Yes.
So it's 45 minutes north inland of Portland. It's the easiest.
Mid.
Yeah.
Mid Maine.
Inland, yep. Right next to Lewis and Auburn is like the next city.
You feel like you go back and there's a lot of townies still there?
I try not to make sure I don't run into people that I grew up with. My mom runs into some people that I went to high school with, but most of the time when I go, we don't.
You stay away?
Yeah, we really wouldn't, because she also lives in Turner now, so it's a different town. But I don't know, I haven't run into anybody, which is nice. I'd prefer not to, to be honest.
Fair.
I don't like that small talk. Where are you at with your life now?
Gets weird, huh?
Kind of thing, really weird. Plus, I don't want people knowing stuff about me that are not present in my life. Sometimes I think it's fake, so I just prefer not to.
Well, you know it's not true. It's not coming from
what are we doing
from
here?
a good place, yes. Yeah, I'm terrible at it, personally. I've been told that
with old past.
Yes, and especially when I see that they're like still in the same place in life, it's pretty awkward for me.
Yes, I have to agree.
It's like, all right, cool. Like, good to see you, man. Like, cool. See you next year here, same place, same time.
Yeah.
No, I've been told that I get kind of awkward. In the sense that, like, if I don't like the conversation, I'm just like, all right, cool, man, later.
Yeah, check out.
And I just, I check out, and I don't make it, I'm not soft about it.
Yeah.
I've been told that I just, like, leave the spot and leave the people talking.
It's fine. So I need to be there. I do the same fucking thing. I do it with people now, though.
friend of mine
I Irish goodbye out of everything.
You say what?
I Irish goodbye out of every like event or party. I'm like, I'm gonna see them later. It's okay. There's no hard feelings. Just have to go.
That's funny. The Irish goodbyes.
Oh yeah. I stopped feeling bad. I used to like, cause you try to say goodbye to somebody and then it turns into like another hour. That's what I try to avoid. Do you like these little salt lamps?
I like them. I'm a huge fan of lighting.
Yeah, same.
Lighting, I think everything to me is mood. You know, you go to my house, it's literally all warm lights.
Yeah.
I like lights dim. I don't like that super bright in your
ceiling
face.
lights.
Yes.
No, same. Sweet. I wish they could stay this dark forever.
You enjoy the winter?
What? Oh, no, I don't. No, I meant tattoos.
Oh,
I wish they could stay that dark
Gotcha.
forever. No, I don't enjoy the winter. I'm not a snow bunny. Hell yeah.
It's not for everybody.
No.
I think as time goes by, I contemplate having a second base somewhere else and just...
Warmer?
Yeah, just be able to kind of like bounce back and forth. I think that would be pretty phenomenal.
That thing just runs off batteries in there?
Mm-hmm.
Not plugged into them? It's nice. Question for you. Why are all these newer tattoo artists, what is that skin stuff they put on people? I had a couple of friends get tattoos recently. It's like, then they gotta peel it off.
Yeah, I think you're talking about, I think it's called tattoo derm.
Is that what it is?
Yeah, it's like a second skin. The thing...
Is it good for it not to not breathe that well?
So with that product, I guess it does breathe, and it seals everything inside. So in a way, the pros about it is that you don't have to clean it.
Yeah.
Right? You kind of leave the wrap on for like a day or two, and then you're supposed to change it, switch to a new one, and all that. I think I've heard good reviews, but I've also heard kind of mixed, where someone, let's see, I think they could just be tricky. That's my only issue with them, is that they could be tricky, and if you don't change them, because let's say, depending on the piece, right? I'll give you an example. Like a piece like this, right, where there isn't like much trauma to the skin, I'm guessing you could leave it on for like the 5-6 days that you're supposed to leave it.
Yeah.
But if you get like a big color piece,
Yep.
you put it on, and then the next day this thing is gonna be filled with fluid. So then you gotta like figure out, clean it, wash it,
Yeah.
and then apply a new piece. At least change it a couple times. But now the question is the person gonna do it correctly?
Right.
Because now you just complicated the aftercare,
Yep.
Sometimes you gotta treat clients like they're a little slow, and that they don't know what they're doing.
Right. Well, that makes sense.
The more complex you do something, they're gonna fuck it up. I think once I had someone that told me they didn't like wash their tattoo for like a week, and I'm like,
that's not a good idea.
there's no aftercare that follows those guidelines. So it sounds like.
Why wouldn't they think it was gonna wash off?
Yeah, like I think so. I think something along those lines. I didn't think I was supposed to wash it. And I'm like, sounds horrible.
You need soap and water. Oh well.
Really?
Yeah, I need to do more of it. Kind of taking a step back. I used to read before bed every night, or pretty much every night.
Kind of stuff.
I've been reading like a lot of self-help kind of recently. Either that or I do like fiction.
Nice.
So just kind of mindless. So I go back and forth between those two most of the time.
What kind of self-help have you gone into?
Positivity.
Yeah.
Like the book names?
Yeah. Like anyone?
Positivity.
Yeah.
Good vibes, good life is a super easy, quick one. But I mean, it's all shit you kind of know. It just
You gotta hear
It's
it a
nice.
couple
Yeah,
times.
it's nice to just like read it and be like, oh yeah, it's not that bad, kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
That one. There's a different one that's what the hell is it called? Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself. That was a good one.
Breaking the habit of being yourself. Interesting.
That was good. I think my mom has that one right now. Can't remember. 'Cause it goes into like the scientific. The whole beginning is more the scientific side about how your brain works, and just like getting out of that pattern. But,
Did it help after you read it?
yeah.
Yeah.
They all kind of do. They just so you take a little bit and you do some
I'm a
stuff.
sucker for audiobooks now.
I thought about getting into them. Do you commute a lot or do you listen to them doing this?
I listen to a lot of books when I'm tattooing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll throw my headphones on and just zone out. Either that, I used to commute, so commuting was another one.
Yeah.
But
What kind of books?
that's
another good word for it actually. Not just self help.
Like I like to just take things in and just like reflect on them, and it's like, okay, how can I optimize my lifestyle?
Yeah.
And it's one of those things, like you said, you got to listen to a couple of times until it finally like kicks in. What was you remember The Secret?
I actually never read that.
No.
I heard good things about it. That's the one that I never actually got, which I'm surprised.
The Secret was good, but it can definitely start get into the whole manifestation of think positive and things will just happen, and it's like how
Manifest that shit.
yes, which now that's kind of one of those things that I'm just like, all right, like this is. I took a lot of good positive things from the book, but I also saw how many people would just take it from the legitimate, like, think gold and gold will appear. It's like, dude, we're not fucking leprechauns. Like,
wouldn't that be fun?
So, like, people would start thinking, like, oh, I just want a mansion. And like, okay, cool. Like, you're not going to school. You're not working. Like,
You think it's just going to appear?
right. Like, somehow, and that's the thing, that, like, some of these books can be really positive, but they can also take you into these places of take no action, because just by thinking of it, it'll be enough.
Yeah.
And I think that's definitely that's a downfall, especially once we start kind of like looking at least something I can resonate with, right? There's so many athletes, right, that will talk about, before I became this, I visualized it, I saw it, and I think that a lot of times we can fall into this place of, fuck, how come people have this clear vision of their future and I don't have that? And I think that's where it can be not knowing how to channel properly can be a downside.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
I definitely fell into that trap where I'm like, fuck, like, do people really have their vision like that clear?
Do I not have it together?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Then you're second guessing yourself.
I had a client a couple years ago. This dude was probably, I think he was 26. And I remember clearly, he goes, whoever, that Cristiano Ronaldo is 26? And I'm like, I did not know that. And he's like, he's a billionaire at this age. And I think of a lot of shit, but that's definitely not one that I ever focus on. Like, how much money does someone have compared to me? Shit, I was mind blown. I'm like, damn, like this dude's like really thinking of this.
Money's not everything, though.
I think is that comparison, right? Like when we're living in this, we live in this era of, you get to see everyone's lifestyle. Yeah. So it's easy to look at a Conor McGregor or someone who, if in a way, right, you follow any of these like professional athletes, and it's like, oh man, you're 23, you talk some shit, you actually achieved the great, at least financial success. everyone else, at least that's under that, is going to look at it as like, shit, how come I haven't achieved anything?
Yeah. Tough expectations. Or what everybody thinks is an expectation to live up to.
I guess that we also live in a time where we're comparing ourselves to everyone else.
Yeah.
Right? It's easy to follow someone on social media and be like, oh, look, he's got like, 100,000 followers. Or this is going on. Like, he's living such a good life. And I'm sure equally everyone else is applying that kind of pressure. Like, how come I haven't achieved that kind of success?
Yeah. Well, then you go into that depression spiral. And it's a vicious circle.
Not feeling enough, I guess, right?
Yeah.
But then again, this is a tricky one because I've never had that feeling of I'm not good enough. That's never crossed my mind. But I am very aware that it's based on how I perform.
Yeah.
If I don't put the time in, what the fuck can I expect? I can't expect miracles, But if I do, there's that weird point where one of the books, looping back to it, one of the books that fucking really impacted me was that the book I have here by David Goggins. You ever heard of him?
No.
So this dude's like ex fucking military guy, ex everything. He went from like this crazy fucking story that he shares in the book to just becoming fucking unbreakable. Like mind of fucking steel, right? Where it's like he talks in his book about this how he had a goal, right? I want to do I guess a marathon. And he had never done a marathon, but and one of the people that put the thing together, he's like, well, if you could run X miles within 24 hours, you can be part. This fucking dude like broke pretty much every bone in his leg to
do that.
To just do it, and fucking did it within 24 hours. And he goes deep into the dark psyche of the mind. Of it's almost this. All right, so this weird way of I guess if you call it. All right, I don't. He doesn't say it in the book, but this is at least the way I interpreted the message, right? Of if you believe in the devil, right? If it's that voice that just tells you you could stop now, you're tired, right? Just stop.
Yeah.
Like why do you keep running, right? So there's that weird perspective that I take into it. What is that voice that's telling me to slow down? That I don't have to keep running, or I don't have to keep training, or why am I working so hard, right? So he talks about that aspect of life and how quick we are to give up just because our feet are tired.
Yeah.
And how do you keep passing the first stage of, I guess, weakness? And then he goes in depth of like there's multiple stages. You could break the first one. But then you know how they say in sports, like, oh, you got that second wind in you?
Yep.
Now that's that second wind.
Yep.
But there's gonna be a third one. And how do you go through the
Right.
third one? And then you realize, holy shit, like I could just keep breaking the next phase, the next wave. Oh shit, I'm tired. It's pretty fascinating, and he talks in depth of how he went through those and how he broke into them. Fascinating story too. Definitely on my. That's one that I digested at least 4 or 5 times.
Was he more like the military guy? Is that? I feel like you've talked about him. There was one that had a military mindset.
He's one. There's 2 guys I listen to. So him and Jocko Willink. Jocko is another one that fucking badass. Like just, like when you hear someone speaking, you just get fucking motivated and it's like, what the fuck am I doing? Like you just want to get up and do something. Those 2 guys are that for me. Like when I feel like, oh shit, like I'm tired, I just like want to go home and chill. I listen to them and I'm like, no, there's way more to fucking do. There's more to fucking do. And personally, I like listening to people like that. makes me think life is fucking short. Life is short, and whatever I don't get fucking done, like, I don't want to look back at. Which brings me to this thought, right? Maybe last year, right? I have a neighbor. His name was Richie. Old Italian guy. This dude said some of the most racist shit, but it was fucking hysterical. And then when I would talk to him, I would, like, in moments, I would forget how old this guy is, right? And once we were talking about life and things like that, right? He would just nag about politics and this and that. Talk to him, and he's like, yeah, I was in the First World War. I also went to Second World War. And I'm like, damn, how old are you? Like, holy fuck, you're in a history book.
Yeah.
Like,
How'd you do both?
Yeah, like what? But this guy was like 97, 98.
God.
Oh, man,
Jeez.
but he's lived some lives. And there was that point
A lot of stories.
where I remember just... I kind of like had this desire of, oh shit, like I want to like treat him to like a glass of wine. Let's fucking talk life. Right? Oh, fuck. And the dude passed away.
How long ago?
Oh my goodness. It's probably going to be a year now.
Yeah.
Anytime soon. Yeah, I think it was kind of getting cold. Yeah, it probably just passed a year.
Yeah.
Man, and that was one of those conversations that I'm like, fuck. And he was healthy. This dude was like crossing his backyard to come to mine. Hey, what are you working on? Like super like awesome guy. It's just, yeah. The point being, he's one of those people that I'm like, damn, I wish I had a chance to talk to you, like sit down and have a conversation.
Like really dive into it.
Yes, and then those moments when you think, like, fuck, like, I missed out on a great opportunity to talk to this person. If you're into listening stuff, or if you want to get into some people, one that I would recommend, if you like the psychology of things, listen to Jordan Peterson.
Jordan Peterson.
Mm-hmm. Oh, he's fucking phenomenal. Like, if you could get... He's very controversial with some things, but if you can listen to the message behind what he's saying, besides the not the politics side of it, but you know what I mean. Yeah. Some people, like, if someone has a different opinion than what you have, somehow we tend to just take it so personal, like, oh, he's trying to hurt us, right? Or he's going against me. And the reason I say that is because he's very controversial. He became popular because his stance on... Oh, goodness. What was his thing? The whole pronoun thing.
It's tough.
Yeah, that was
I have a hard time with it.
That he stood by, and he's like, why do I have to use pronoun? Because he's Canadian. And by law in Canada, I guess they are, or they were trying to apply speech by law, right? So he's kind of like, well, I'm not going to, you're not going to force me to call you X, Y, Z, and later it came to be, it's like, his argument is like, there shouldn't be no force of speech.
I just can't say it's not grammatically correct.
I had a hard time.
The way I was brought up, I'm still having a hard time, catching myself. It's just, it's not what we grew up with.
Sure,
saying it.
No, oh my goodness, I had a situation with a client years ago. We're very used to just seeing someone and automatically... I see by face value, cool, a quick assessment, and I'm like, oh yeah, this is the situation was, I'm like, oh, can you book her an appointment? A person stepped up. I'm not her, is they. No, it was like, it's they. And I remember looking at the lobby like, dang, I just had one consultation. What does this mean?
Yeah.
And then, like, after like 10 seconds, it clicked. I'm like,
that's one.
oh, that's what we're playing. I'm like, oh. I'm like, okay. And I remember it bothered me. It bothered me, at least the way it was, I was approached by about it. It's like, well, it's not her, it's they. Thought about it for a couple of weeks. And I had to ask the person again. I'm like, so how am I supposed to assess the situation? I remember the person telling me that I shouldn't assume that, and I'm like, I shouldn't assume. And I'm like, if I'm in the street and I had already the perfect like argument, because I'm like, if we're in front of a bank and there's a robbery, do you think the cops are gonna ask, like, have all this jungle game of, is it tall, is it short, is it tall, like, what race? Is it all based on how we feel and we want to be in the moment?
Or is it just what it is?
Right, because the more we complicate it, like, you can't just be like, imagine, like, and it's like, oh, well, it's a societal construct. And I'm like, dude, it's a construct for a reason. Like, if you think back in the safari, right? You have to be able to say it's a lion. You can't just be like, oh, let's wait till it gets here so we can like assess it.
What it feels like being.
Yes, like what it is today. And it's like, no, like, fuck. And then the argument, right, that I've had in the past is like, oh, well, it's all a societal construct, which language as a whole is a societal construct. Yeah. So the question is, how do we go about this? And now my thoughts are these people just in their own bubble? I don't know. How do you think about this?
I don't even know. Like I said, I don't care. It's just, I feel like everybody's just looking for something.
All right, so
like a pot to stir, some feathers to ruffle. I don't know.
You ignore it.
Thank you. Yes.
Thanks. Thanks. You're like, I just don't think about it.
No, because I feel like everybody's just looking for something.
All right, so then imagine this, right? Because the argument with the whole Canadian thing, if I'm not mistaken, was by law, they were trying to pass a bill that if you didn't call someone by their pronoun, it would be considered hate speech. So imagine being arrested because someone says you didn't call
me they.
You racially profiled me, or you are somehow affecting XYZ from me.
Yeah.
Now, that's the kind of conversation that I'm like, how are we not thinking of this? Because that can affect, like,
a lot.
Example, like in New York City, I heard that like eating French fries in the subway, it's against the law.
Why?
That's what I heard. I gotta look into it some
now
more.
I'm gonna Google it.
But this is something I heard, and I'm like, imagine you're eating French fries on the subway, like going down the stairs, and you get arrested, and all of a sudden you're like, why? And they're like, well, this is illegal. And it's like, I didn't know that. It's like, exactly, but it doesn't matter if you knew it or not. It's a law.
It is. Oh, you're saying this isn't really true. You're giving an example.
I heard this was like a thing.
Jesus.
But I never heard of this. Maybe I'm just passing wrong information, but is an example as to imagine certain things in the future where if we're not up to date with what's happening and we just turn the other cheek, right? And just like, it's not my business. I don't fucking care. But they tend to be the loudest people in the group, right? So when some people are fighting all these different like laws and things, now the question is, where do we stand? You know what I mean?
I just want to ignore it.
Oh, sorry.
I'm good.
All right, so curious to hear thoughts on this. I've been asking clients about, especially teachers. I'm like, how's everything going in school with kids? Especially because this year I introduced my kids to public school. So 2 teachers mentioned that in their school, at least in Framingham and one in Boston, is they've requested to have litter boxes in one of the bathrooms or a bathroom because
The furries.
because a student or two identify as cats. Now,
I just don't. I can't.
so now what do we
I
do
can't
with
fathom it. I can't. Do you watch stand-up comedy?
Mm-hmm.
Have you seen Sebastian Maniscalco?
Does he have a latest one?
He does have a most recent one, and that's what he talks about. Is he has younger kids now and they're in school.
Mm-hmm.
And he was talking about how one of the kids wants to be a lion.
Ah.
So he's got a lion in the class, and I was roaring.
Oh, that's funny. No, I haven't heard this one
It's
then.
funny as shit. But
Is it on Netflix already?
yeah, I think that one is. I don't understand it.
But now imagine
Just
this,
don't get
right?
it.
What these teachers mentioned is that, so this is where it gets crazy. So he goes, I'm in a position where I cannot say anything. He goes, I'm a white teacher.
Yeah.
And I'm a man. So regardless, I cannot say anything regarding any opinions, voice anything, right? So what I guess the institute itself is saying to the teachers, well, you got to let kids express themselves. So how far does
To a
that
certain
self-expression go, and it impacts other kids
Yeah.
from actually doing what they need to be doing,
Learning.
which is learning.
Yeah.
And I said to him, I'm like, and the weird part is that I asked him, I'm like, so what are the, you know how, like, I don't know in your school, but at least I could say from mine, there was a dress code in school growing up, right? No shorts higher or shorter than arm's length.
We went through that too.
Right?
Yeah.
No shorts, blouses, no cleavage, no nothing, no
Yep.
V-necks. He goes like, that's out the door. It all goes now.
Yep.
And you cannot voice anything because everyone is looking at you and waiting with their phones open.
Yep.
To get that viral moment and kind of show
So
you
sad.
in front of everyone. Now that gets wild because I'm like, fuck. I cannot imagine being in school in this moment. Right?
Same. I would not want to be honest. I think we did have it easier.
It was less complex for sure. I think the social pressure has probably gotten bigger now.
Yeah.
Because I guess what he was saying is that everyone wants to be the next viral video or have the next viral video. So it's everyone who wants to be a TikToker and like they're recording. He goes, they're doing dances in the middle of the class and he has to
it's
repeatedly
stupid.
say, can you sit down and stop what you're doing?
Yeah.
I cannot.
That shouldn't be happening.
Yes. So they all have phones in class and all this, which is now what I keep asking myself, we are in a completely different, like our generations cannot even fathom what we don't connect in any way. And I think that's also like a pretty important piece because it's like, if I can't relate to what they're going through, I don't understand it.
Yeah. See, times are crazy. I think they should have to put their phones in a little box when they enter the classroom. All at the front. A little respect has gone out the window.
Respect is a big one.
Yeah.
It's gone.
It's completely gone.
What do you
It's
notice in the
disheartening.
workforce?
I work with a bunch of old white men. So
Oh, they're older?
most of them, yeah.
Yeah.
There's not. I mean, no, we have younger ones. The only thing I notice with people that are younger is they feel like they're entitled to everything.
Explain. Like what? They deserve...
Like raises, even if you're not performing, like they just think I'm here, so I deserve more. That's the biggest thing I've seen with it is pay. Or like they think they deserve all this free shit. And I was like, I never got this when I was fucking doing this shit. I had to work for everything. And you only got these things if you worked your ass off. So it's just hard to see it differently. I see the lack of work ethic now is what in the workplace. Like I have this one kid that thinks he's crushing it, and I've told him multiple times, like, he's not. Tell him how he can do better. This doesn't do anything. And then gets upset when he doesn't get this expected bonus and raise. And I'm like, dude, you're barely doing just your job description. But they think that...
What age?
He's actually 30.
30?
He's a rare one. Because I have a younger one that's the complete... I mean, she's still... the free stuff, she thinks that she should get all the free stuff, but she's never once talked about a raise. But she's working her ass off, so she gets one every year. It's just fascinating.
What do you think about the pay gap?
What?
You think, like, there's such thing as a pay gap?
I think there is, but...
You think so? What's your theory on this?
Depends what the job is. I don't really have a theory.
You've seen it? Yeah, you've noticed one?
I haven't seen it firsthand that I know of. But I don't get to see everything.
The numbers and all that. Because there's a lot of argument behind it, right? That, okay, there is such thing as a pay gap and all that. But a lot of that could be debatable, right? Because it's based on... Question is it really based on race? And not race, but gender? Or is it based on just, like, performance?
I think it could also be based on... Companies are going to do whatever they can to get away with paying people as little as possible until they say something, too. Like, you don't know what you don't know.
But then that wouldn't be sex.
No,
as
that
a
wouldn't
pay
be.
gap, right? So it's just based on, like... Because that's the thing, right? As a company, they're not going to offer you a raise. It makes no point for like, you have to ask for a raise. No company willingly, ethically, sure. They should.
Ours actually does, which is nice.
Oh, but now that shows a different type of, I guess, appreciation, because that's really what it is. It's appreciation, but if you think about it from a business standpoint, it's almost kind of like, let me offer you more money to do the job. No, I don't know. Maybe I just think that no one really is going to offer that. Doesn't make sense business-wise unless you're trying to hold your employees and keep your employees. Right? Because it's based on... Think of this, right? We keep jobs based on how we feel about the jobs. You're happy and you feel appreciated, it's almost kind of you stay. You hear from your manager, hey, you're doing a phenomenal job, you're this, you're that. You're gonna feel appreciated. It's like, shit, at least he fucking noticed, or she notices. They notice.
It does keep you around.
They notice. I had a job in the past, right? And this is like a indirect similarity, but I had a job where, oh my goodness, I was friends with everyone there. And at one point before I quit the job, I questioned myself, why am I having a hard time quitting when I've never had an issue quitting before?
Yeah.
Now, thoughts are friendships, relationships that you have in a job, right? That also affects the way you may say, I'm out, I'm leaving, or seeking for something better. But also agreeableness on the other tip of the pay gap. I think not too many people ask for a raise.
No. Yeah, see, I've only worked with men since I started working. Because I'm in the construction industry. So. But I've always been with, like, a contractor. They're just a different breed than, like, a big business conglomerate, you know?
How you doing?
How are we looking on evenness?
No, you tell me. Almost there?
Yep.
Well, time is it
If
now?
it's even enough to presentable, 6. And get cleaned up.
Maybe like 3 minutes.
Yeah, you can. Counting?
Got it. No, just making sure they're all even.
Got to be presentable for a little bit. And I have this big holiday party on Friday, actually.
Awesome. Where is it at?
Newberry Hotel. It's for work.
Newberry Hotel in Boston?
Yeah. Never been. Heard it's very swanky.
Mm.
So we're getting all dressed up, which would be fun.
I'm guessing if it's on Newberry Street, right?
Yeah,
is that where it's at? I'm guessing.
Yeah. I think it took place at the old Taj. I think. I don't know. It's on, like you can. It's on the corner of Newbury and Commons. The Commons. The Boston Commons.
All right, let me get a photo real quick, and we'll wrap this one up.
Looks real good.
It looks good.